This flimsy, chimsy, ching chong handbrake and bracket. Nah. No. And this chintzy, oh, look at that. The bolts are falling out. This thing never worked, man. It looks like it's got some kind of lever action for some mechanical advantage there. Yeah, it doesn't work. That thing hurts your hands. You can't even pull it hard enough to get the rear brakes to lock up. That's even with the 5/8 Willwood master cylinder plumbed inline. So got a solution here. Shaybo's currently disassembling the fantastic high performance beefy ass bracket, American made. Woo! America. From John Duncan there. We're going to replace that Chinese junk in there with some John Duncan goodness, and hopefully I'll have an operating handbrake. So he's going to take that apart. We're going to get it painted up and get it in the car for tomorrow. What do you say, Shaybo? Yee yee. Yeah, that's right. Yee yee. And next up is a song called My Neighbors Love Me, in the key of AA. Alright, so I'm working on the first step of getting a really good stock Ford caliper handbrake setup working on your Mustang. On this car I have a inline style, and I had these really good, one of my favorite brake pads. It's actually a road course style of pad for really high heat, but they have amazing cold bite. So this is what I went to just to start out my journey with having a good working handbrake, and they do work well when they get some heat in them, but we're looking for something that works better than well. So I took these out before round 4 and just tried a set of old stock replacement takeout pads I had, thinking that they might actually work better at a colder temperature, but you know, they're of an unknown material. And yeah, it turns out I was wrong. They sucked. They could barely even lock the back tires in the rain. So yeah, that did not work out well for us.
Not at all.
Not at all. So step 1, I finally got the good pads. If I just listened to what other people were saying about HP Plus Hawk pads, and they're a really good low temperature pad. What really got me to think, man, this is what I should be starting with, is because these on the heat chart are a really grippy pad at low temperatures, and so they're good for autocross and drifting, because when you're ripping on your handbrake, they don't get hot like they do on a road course when you're constantly slowing the car down from triple-digit speeds. So, yep. So that's the first step to getting a better working handbrake, is we'll get these HP Pluses on there and see what kind of difference that makes. So it helps to have a helper. In this case, my helper is Shaybo, and he's going to work the pedal for me. And what I'm going to do is just take a look at the calipers and look for mechanical movement. Go ahead. All right, so if you look, there's a little bit of movement at the caliper here, and that's good because the caliper's working, but we're looking for mechanical movement, making sure there's no excessive play that would take up the function of the handbrake, and applying pressure to the pads when it when it extends the piston. So there's no excessive mechanical movement, so we can check that off our list. So part of the inspection you want to do is you want to make sure that these slide pins in the brackets, like this one is kind of dark looking. It's not really dried out, but it's still got lube in it. And more importantly, when I put pressure on it, it still slides freely, top and bottom. These things get really rusty and nasty, so it's a good thing to use a non-petroleum grease product like brake caliper lube, because you don't want any oil products on your brakes or anywhere near your brakes, and lube these up before you put it back together. Oh, sweet. All right, so these pads are supposed to be the bee's knees for the low temperature. Yeah, I need to get a rag. I'll pause it. I mean, I have this, but after years of doing lots of brake jobs and having big jugs of caliper lube, I have all these little ones that I've left over. So these are silicone, so they're not petroleum product. The petroleum product thing isn't just to keep it from getting on the pad and the friction surface, because you don't want this stuff on there either. The big thing is most of the parts in brake systems that are rubber. They're not chemical resistant to petroleum products, so they'll just swell up and deteriorate. And so yeah, you want to clean the slides off real well, lube them up. Just like this. And then if these slide pins are rusty or really galled up from years of corrosion and not being properly cleaned and lubed, you can get new ones. Same goes for the bracket too, though. The bracket, actually has the slide pin guide built into it. And then the surfaces that the pads slide on, you want to wipe off. The stock pads come with have little stainless steel anti-rattle clips, and depending on the way that the aftermarket performance pads fit kind of determines if I use them. These have quite a bit of play, so they're actually designed to be used with the anti-rattle clips. Let's see how one does, because I'm not trying to have it operate as freely as I can. Yeah, so just one. And then when you're putting the caliper back on, watch this spring here. Make sure that this spring is level so the caliper body sits over it. Get the Now, when you go to put your caliper back on, you may notice that the piston is extended, and you can't just put it back over because the new pads are thicker than your old pads were. So that's when it helps to have the right tool. The proper tool will allow you to rotate the piston back in. Just got to figure out which size it is. Yeah, there it is. And you can actually buy this tool, or you can rent it at most auto parts stores. Sometimes you can get away with using a pair of needle nose pliers. I'd do that last time at the track and just take the two needle nose and put them in the grooves in the piston and rotate it, but that's not fun. Yeah, this one's really tight. Yeah. So when you're done rotating the piston, you want this groove, these little triangles here that these were going into, to be lined up with those, with the bottom and the top, because see there's a little pin that sticks out of the pad on the back side you want it to line up with. So let's see if that's wide enough. Oh yeah. All right. So as you can see, we have quite a bit of mechanical movement now. So now I need to ratchet the piston to get it back in. So one of the ways you can do that is to rotate the parking brake mechanism. In this case, I'm not using it because I don't have a parking brake. So I'm just rotating the lever, try to take that up, and it's not really doing too much, so and I'll do it hydraulically. Okay. That's more like it. There's pretty much no mechanical movement there. So that's good. Now we're all ready to do the other side and go test it out. So remember when I pointed out those springs here at the top of the pad, making sure that those stay centered, because what happens is when you're at the racetrack and you're getting poured on by rain, trying to get these things working right, you can see there's one of those springs sticking out of the top because I didn't get it centered when I dropped the caliper down. Thought it was good, but I was wrong. So yeah, don't do that. You want both of those guys to be, you know, sticking up evenly. So, all right.